Welcome to Mic'd and Medicated.
And this is our first rodeo.
Yeehaw!
Yeehaw!
Welcome to Mic'd and Medicated. We are sitting here on a very beautiful day. Feels like spring has finally sprung.
Thank goodness, because I'm ready to put the furs in storage and put the coats away and get ready to, wear my new spring Net-a-Porter goods.
I love that. I actually figured out a way to get down to one wardrobe, so I actually never have to take out spring clothes. It's all out all the time.
I don't understand that. You have wait. Does that mean you don't have any clothes, or does that mean you're wearing cashmere in July?
No, it means I have few pieces and I know which ones are for which season, and I might reorder where they are. I actually hired an organizer to come to my house and help me with my...
That you spent money on that.
Yeah.
Honestly, me too. And it's funny.
You're the best, though.
I had just finished working in December, and a friend of mine raved about this woman and just how she changed her life, and how 7 years later they were redoing their kitchen and they still were following the framework and the organizational approach that this woman had set up for their kitchen. And so I told Doug, I'm hiring this woman to come do our home, and we were going to do a walkthrough and decide how to prioritize what to do. And Doug said, you need to get a job. You have too much time on your hands.
Fuck him.
So she came over, and the kitchen I was excited about, my bedroom closet area I was excited about. And then Doug said, I can do the kitchen. We don't need her. And I just want to say for the record,
did he do
that, well, this is what I'm about to tell you. The bedroom, my closets and dressers, I am thrilled. I'm thrilled with how organized everything is. And it motivates me to put my stuff away. I can see everything and I know what I have to wear. And the kitchen, which Doug, to his credit, took her kind of high level consultant advice and tried to implement it, but it's already a mess again. So I think I'm going to override him and just do it and rehire her to do my kitchen.
Yeah, sometimes you need a professional, and I think talking about professionals, that segues perfectly into this episode's title, which is to hire or not to hire. And in New York City, in order to really survive, because I think, not everybody lives in obviously a house with a basement where you can just store stuff and, accumulate or get in your car. It's a more complicated lifestyle. And you don't just need the Birkin and the diamond studs, but you need to outsource stuff. It's impossible to do it all. And I think there are some people I think New York City is one of the cities where growing up here, I was totally raised where outsourcing was normal. And you kind of bragged about how smart you were to find such great people who were better at whatever, they were better at doing something than you were.
It's so interesting because having not grown up in New York, there were things that I didn't even realize you could outsource. So now
baby, you could outsource anything.
Exactly. But it's and maybe this exists in lots of places now, but now it's so obvious that you have a dog walker. And in New York City, you need that. And as a working mother, you need that. But growing up, if somebody had said to me, I have a dog walker, I would have laughed and said, you're kidding, right?
Well, you grew up in the suburbs. You open the door.
Right.
And your dog just goes outside.
We had a doggy door.
Right. It's very different, unless you have a backyard and you live at the frick.
Or growing up, the first time I went skiing, I remember just falling on my ass and it being really cold and miserable and hating skiing. And now when I take my kids skiing, all of the families don't just have one private ski instructor. They have a private ski instructor for each child and a private ski instructor for the parents. So I just think some of it's New York and some of it's our world has changed. But I think it might be fun just to talk about all of the crazy outsourcers we use.
Yeah, or we would want to use if we had an unlimited budget. Yeah, no, I think it is. I actually think it's a combination. I think where there's affluence, there's usually a need for outsourcing because people tend to work hard at their careers and don't have time to do other things. So I think that's part of it. And in New York, you have to work hard to stay here. So your time is sort of the opportunity cost of your time. But it is so the culture. I think New York City is one of the few cities where you could probably never leave your apartment and get every service you need come to you or whatever you need.
Yes. And two things about that. One, just to reinforce your point, I had read an article many years ago by two economists that talked about like the time value equation and the fact that why are you laughing at me?
I'm just laughing because I just love how I'm thinking about stupidest things, and I just love how you bring us to like a Barry Weiss level, and I'm really just proud of you.
You made
your co-host.
You laughing with admiration.
But you made laughing at ourselves.
Yeah, we're laughing at ourselves.
But you made a profound insight, and I had to read it somewhere years ago. But the point is that these economists talked about your time is valuable, so outsourcing cleaning your home is actually a very smart and cost-effective decision because your time is worth more than the person's time who is cleaning. So you're paying them to clean, and that is their highest value use of time. And yours might be making $500 an hour consulting or picking up your kid or whatever else you're doing. Right. And the other point I wanted to make is New York City is all about outsourcing, and we'll get into the reasons why, because I think it's driven by a lot of different reasons for different people. Mm-hmm. But it's sort of the opposite of lots of other cultures where do it yourself is so applauded and sort of aspired to.
Yeah, I think, my husband's from Boston, and even though it's a city, quote unquote, kind of fuck with him and call it a town, but it is very, I think because it also lacks like a Jewish culture to it. I think there's something about the Jewish culture where we like to outsource because we know what we're good at and we know we want to find someone who's the best at something else. But in Boston, you DIY, like you do it yourself, baby. If they even have the service that you need, you're not telling people. But in New York, even the non-Jews are kind of succumb to this Jewish culture of like, it's delivery. Like we were before Seamless, like no other city had delivery like we did.
I spent a lot of my adult life trying to do it all myself because I had some sense of accomplishment and pride that I could be superwoman and running around frazzled all the time, but like getting it all done and doing the impossible what nobody else could do. But I look back and I realize that you miss so many moments when you try to take everything on in an unrealistic way. So
yeah, I agree with you. I think with outsourcing, I think there's obviously a question of what you really need to make your lifestyle work, what you can afford. And yes, for certain moments, like if I'm having a dinner party, if I want to enjoy it and look attractive, I have to have someone cook. First of all, I can't cook. I don't want to kill all my guests.
like when I served my guests raw fish.
Yeah, like you said.
And they ate it smiling.
Oh, God.
I mean, right, like you were talking about how when you host in like Bedford, I don't know, you pretend to be like a Stepford wife and do everything yourself, but like, do you think your guests are enjoying your, like, as you said, half frozen fish?
Or your fresh direct.
I know.
Yeah, like your fresh direct Passover Seder that you, I mean, thank God you missed the cutoff.
Oh my God. At 11:07, I thought like I could still get under the wire and get that brisket ordered.
Yeah. Like, what are they going to give you?
Guests are going to be craving that.
Yeah, 30 pre-hard-boiled eggs ready to be dipped in salt water.
Right. And I guess that was my version of not either cooking it myself day of and or what I'm going to do.
Who cooks Passover day of? You can't do that. Even my grandmother used to start like a week in advance. Brisket needs it's like wine. It needs to be aged and hard.
I guess for me, it's like camp packing. Like I start the day before.
You can't do, that's why you need to learn.
Outsource.
Right. You need to learn from Courtney and I, Gelman, that you need to outsource. Like when I hosted Seder last year, I was able to look really nice and I'd set the table, which was beautiful. I did my own flowers, but I had someone cook. And you know what? My first Seder hosting, he gave me one job to organize the parsley. That's what I was doing. Do you know what I did? You guys, if everybody knows that one of the parts of the Seder, you take the parsley and you dip it in the salt water. I minced it.
What does minced mean?
Chopping.
Oh, chopped it.
How the fuck right. So how do you do that? I was passing around a cup of parsley.
Yeah. Little crumbs.
And all my family members and everybody was like, what are we supposed to do? How do we dip? And I was like, I'm never in the kitchen. No, he's not Jewish.
You a food job.
Actually, I don't think he gave me a food job. He's just like, oh, do you want to put the parsley somewhere? You know? Or maybe he minced it and I didn't tell him not to and I didn't know any different.
And by the way, I'm not going to need a lot of convincing because I have really started to reflect on this a lot. And what I also realized is it is a skill to be a conductor and it is a skill to manage your household flawlessly. And instead of making it look really hard, which is what I do, I realize that like my friends who will say things like, in a joking way, like I'm CEO of the household.
Oh, you mean like the person sitting next to you?
Right. So you say that it is really hard to manage all the aspects of a household. And outsourcing is about finding the right person, about managing them the right way. About
you have to hire somebody to even help you find the outsourcers.
Right. Whereas Doug and I
free work.
Right.
Yes.
And get that person to do the stuff.
Right. And I guess
you're like, why don't you just do the work instead of,
Yeah.
because it's different. I don't know.
So I guess my point is that I feel like I've got to learn how to do this better. And all of this, where we've created this program where Doug and I tag team and we partner on it and we do stuff. The moral of the story is my dresser and closets are organized beautifully.
I think for you, I don't think you've been exposed to someone who is in the middle of, huge corporate job, working a gazillion hours, having a nanny kind of help raise your kids, do everything. Or the other option is a woman who like goes to luncheons, isn't really around, and like outsources every single thing from like someone who comes and does their flowers just for like their normal week. And they have 5 housekeepers and they have a chauffeur and they have a garden that they don't do. And all of these things. And you're kind of like, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. So I think there's the balance that you don't really know exists, which I would say I'm like a good example. Gelman's a good example where we are really hands-on with our kids, but we have help. We know what we're good at. Courtney actually likes to cook, so maybe she'll cook. I won't cook. I will have my nanny cook for us. We don't have chauffeurs like them, but
I would like them too. But yes, I think I come from the work full time, do it all myself, no help on the weekends, and
seeing this other side of person,
the middle that I'm comfortable with. And I think that there's also the motivation of why we do these things. So look, I'm as guilty as anyone with an over-reliance on experts. It's just different kinds of experts that
you rely more on, like, I would say you like emotional, intellectual knowledge and gems. For your career, you're very confident. But in terms of that maternal instinct or just, how dealing with your kids, you do like to rely on experts probably. But you did, which is great. Where I don't really rely on that, but I might rely on somebody to cook for me. I think we all have a different scale of what we need, and it's just acknowledging your weaknesses and what
you're good at, and where your time is most valuable. And I think that is really important starting point. When time is your scarcest asset, you need to figure out quickly what are your priorities and where do you want to spend your time. And then you need to figure out, how do I outsource in an effective way all those things that are important to get done, but aren't my strengths or where I want to put my time.
Correct.
And that's hard to do. Like, I actually think I am in awe of people like the two of you.
Yeah, my life's a disaster.
But who have figured that out and are confident in what you're outsourcing, what you're doing, and how your time is being spent. And I actually would cry. I would never stop crying if I thought of all the time I've wasted in my life.
What do you mean? Everybody thinks that. It's always 20/20 in hindsight.
Right. But I think there's another thing at play, which is part of this, which is we live in a city of strivers. Like, everyone here wants to be the best at everything they do. And so I think part of this kind of reliance on experts and this outsourcing mentality is about, I need the best at everything. So I need to curate the best person to train my dog, the best person to decorate my home, the best person to cook for my dinner parties, the best person to teach my kid chess, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. I feel like I'm like not on that level where obviously like I'm not financially at a place where I am hiring my own chef 7 days a week or all these goals that I want. But I will say, like, I'm not even thinking I need the best person to do certain things. Anybody who would cook for me would be better than me. Or anybody who could teach my son chess is better than me. Like, I don't need to have the best chess teacher.
Okay, so this is also why I've not ever been good in this area of outsourcing, because I'm going to make an admission right now that I'm not totally proud of, but I'm think so excited for this. Interviewed close to, I think the number was 47 nannies before I chose one for George.
Okay, well, that's a lot. That reminds me of, actually, good lesson about nannies is that you can't hire a nanny who previously worked for a very rich family, because then they literally have a list of all the things they don't do because they were used to having like a chauffeur, a chef, a grocery shopper. Reminds me of Mrs. Doubtfire when she's interviewing, and the woman's like, I don't clean, I don't cook, I don't do diapers, I don't watch kids. I'm like, she's like, what do you fucking do? Right.
Oh my God, that's so funny. It's the baby nurse who comes in and is, I want salmon for dinner.
Oh, that baby
hogs the TV. And you're like, wait, do I work for you?
Yeah. I'll never forget when I gave birth to Ellie, our first child. I said to the baby nurse, I was like, Helen, we're ordering some Mexican. Do you want some food? And she's like, no tilapia. No tilapia. We were like, okay, because we were so scared of her. But like,
well, it's not that you were scared of her. It's like, you're scared of losing her. Like that baby nurse relationship. Yeah. Holy shit. I don't know what I'm fucking doing. I mean,
how long did you have your baby nurse for?
So the first time it was 3 months and then COVID. So it was like 8 months.
I had my first baby nurse for 4 days and then I got rid of her even though I had had a C-section.
Is that the one who drank from the mom cup?
Yes. So it was day 3 and she is drinking her coffee out of the mom mug that I was gifted, my mom mug. What? And I said something to Doug and he's like, blind? Doug was like, oh, like you're being crazy, like try to blame it on my hormones. And then she did it again.
I hate when they do that, by the way.
Yeah. Oh. And then like she wanted to, she seemed irritated that I was breastfeeding. She wanted to do the nighttime
part of her job.
Right. She wanted to do the nighttime feeding so I could sleep. But I said, this is my first baby. I'm nursing exclusively. I want to get up and do it. And then she would be impatient to whisk the baby away when I was done nursing. But I wanted to do the burping myself. And then I wanted to change the diaper myself. In any case, by day 5, she was gone. And
after she did the mom mug again, right?
Yeah, 2 mom mug
Did
drinkings.
She give you a look like she
I don't think she particularly cared for me because I think she probably just felt like she had nothing to do. But I felt like
bottles.
No, not if she's only breastfeeding.
Right. But I also thought like her job was to take care of me, not the baby.
No, not the New York City baby nurse.
Right. And Doug begged me not to get rid of her because I had a C-section. But what I realized in that moment, because Doug was pleading with me to keep her, is I think the baby nurse is also for the husband. Because the minute you don't have a baby nurse, the husband actually has to really pick up the slack and do a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
So then when baby 2 came around 2 years later, I said, I do not want a baby nurse.
Oh.
And Doug again begged me. He was like, please, please, please. So I said, fine, but if I don't want to keep her, we're not keeping her. So we got a woman named Astrid. She was lovely, but we came home from the hospital at like, I don't know, maybe 3 p.m. one day. She showed up at 4. The next morning, Doug went out to do errands. At this point, there was still a Babies R Us or something downtown. So
Bye baby.
Thank you. And he was buying a bunch of stuff and he called me and he said,
Jeremy did that also when I came over from the hospital. I was like, where the fuck are you?
By the way, is there nothing more stressful than that hour before the nurse comes? Like, you guys are home.
Oh, no, I have a better story.
And you're alone with the baby, but it's 1 more hour until she comes.
No. When you're done on this, like, situation,
I was dreading her arriving. So she arrives an hour after we get home. The next morning, Doug's out doing errands. He calls me and says, hey, I'm going to pick up Lenny's for lunch on the way home. What do you want? I told him. And then he said, what does Astrid want? And I said, oh, you don't need to worry about Astrid's lunch.
Ooh.
And he said, you did not, Eva. And she was gone, like, I don't know, 15 hours
She heard
after
you said
she
that?
came. No, I had already fired her and told her she could leave.
Oh, that's oh my God. Oh my God.
So I did it all myself. So I think back to this outsourcing, I felt great, but I'll be honest. Like,
did you breastfeed for 2 years also? Never a bottle. You Miss Perfect.
I was that person. Like, I would bring my 6-week-old baby in my carrier to my son's 2-year birthday party, and I felt
oh my God,
awesome.
I would judge you and be like, why is that woman with a 6-week-old baby who could get the flu, who could get a cold? Is she nuts?
But I guess, fine, judge me. But I guess the other point was,
Courtney, you would feel the same way.
Had I had a baby nurse, I could have really focused on George instead of, I thought we were creating this family. Like, I would nurse every 3 hours and George would come up. But I'm sure George was like, F you. Like, I want you to myself, Mommy.
Get that baby off the nipple.
But I was like, this is real life. But I guess this is like what I'm trying to get to with the outsourcing. And then we can stop having an Eva therapy session. But
this is fun. My mouth was getting a little dry from talking. I like this.
But I guess I thought, and maybe it's, as you were saying, like I went from full-time working mom with no help to assuming that the only other example was outsource everything and have this sort of disconnected experience. But I felt like real life is you are taking care of your baby and you're asking your 2-year-old to participate and it's all together. And if you have a baby nurse who's got the baby and you can like come home to this clean baby to just like hug and love, that's not real life. That's not like the mess of it.
You're acting like you're from like Missouri. That's how to pronounce it. Or they're 500 pounds and they do everything themselves and they want to fucking kill themselves. That's
I guess
not how it works. First of all, going back to the baby nurse. Yeah, this is New York, baby. And you're Jewish, even if you like to not brag to the world about it. You are. And Jews don't do that kind of stuff. We don't. Life is hard enough for us as it is, okay? We're always running from danger. You don't need to make it harder. All right? And then on the side note, I do want to go back to the point where you said baby nurses can be for the husbands. My husband, besides for paying them weekly in cash when he wanted to kill himself, he's like, for 8 months. He's like, how much is this? I'm like, Jeremy, it's 24/7. You know, it'd be like, it's $350 a day. I'm like, the woman's working 24/7.
By the way, that's like a steal now.
Yeah, like that's like paying them like $3 a day. And that, but he did love was the ordering in part. So he didn't give a fuck what I wanted to eat. He's like, I don't eat steamed food. He's like, what do you want? They would eat like Mexican and curry food and Korean barbecue. He loved having a partner to like pig out with, you know?
He's finally over the I eat gluten-free pasta and fish.
Like he was so happy to have like a wife who was like kind of fat and actually very fat and like wanted to just enjoy herself, you know? But the side note, I had the worst. So for Courtney and I, that hour before the baby nurse comes was your heaven and it was our hell. Mm-hmm. So I did fire this baby nurse. She comes, okay. First of all, she's got nails like she works at like Christie's in the 90s, you know? Like, I'm sorry. It's just a reference I have to use. It's before like the Upper East Side had long fake nails, you know? And huge nails. She had a weave that could mop the floor. Like I have a newborn. She like went to kiss the baby. Her like, as like Dion would say in Clueless, like what did she say? I do not wear polyester. Well, this woman was wearing polyester and her polyester hair was rubbing on my eczema sensitive infant. Okay. Her big nails, and Carmen, who was my babysitter growing up and like was there helping me, looked at me like, get her out.
Wait, why'd you need a baby nurse if you had Carmen?
No, Carmen was like helping me. Teddy, she wasn't getting up. Stop it, Eva. So anyway, it gets better. So I'm like lying down in my bed. Like obviously I just pushed a baby out. My vagina, I'm in so much pain, okay? I can barely stand up to urinate. The baby nurse comes in, my mom, and I will never forget this, and she's like, I need to just get my diabetic medicine because I almost just went into diabetic coma. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? She's like, yeah, it's fine. I almost just had a heart attack, but I'm fine. No, I swear my life. I'm like,
holding the baby.
Holding the baby. I'm like, my mom grabs the baby and I'm like, no. And I literally called Jeremy, who was at, guess where he was with my mother-in-law at Bye Baby. Buying shit. Like, he's like, oh, I got a high chair. I'm like, the baby's fucking 2 weeks old. Okay? Get home now. I don't need a high chair, Jeremy. Oh, I'm just going to have a quick lunch with my mom. Get home. I'm like, and she's like, what do you need? Well, I hired a baby nurse. I'm like, get home. I can like feel, and my mom is looking at me like, where is your husband? Why is your husband not home? I can just feel it. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. Teddy's crying. My vagina's bleeding and I'm in pain. And this woman's like, I'm going to lie down. I'm like, what do you mean you're going to lie down? I'm going to lie down. So anyway, she got her diabetic medicine. She was able to shoot herself up. Whatever, to keep her alive. Then this gets better. I'm like telling Jeremy, he finally comes home 5 hours later. And he says, what's the big deal? Like, what's the problem? She got her meds. I'm like, Jeremy, she's holding our newborn. Like, she could drop her. I wouldn't let the woman leave the bedroom with the baby. Okay? So then she's trying to put the baby down, and she has the news, like whatever fucking shit she was watching, blasting. It's like bedtime routine. I'm like, what are you doing? She's watching TV. I watch her. She falls asleep holding the baby. And my husband still thinks this is normal. He's still not understanding.
By the way,
I found a new person thanks to Courtney, and then I fired her. Wait, it gets better, and then I will stop talking. I made Jeremy fire the baby nurse, obviously, and I hid in the bedroom and locked the door with my new baby nurse and the baby. She came and got her stuff. I was terrified. Just scary.
But okay, so a couple of things. One, Jeremy or all husbands, they actually could care less. They just want that body there, so they're not needed. That's number one.
She was going to die and drop my baby.
Right. And number two, I am surprised given you are a great outsourcer because I think part of outsourcing is knowing who to call to get the references for who to hire.
I was shocked. I asked somebody that was very trustworthy and it was a very bad decision.
Right. And I think that oftentimes the best people, like when I feel like I really got somebody great, it's somebody that you can't actually find unless you know the right person to ask.
I'm usually like that. Courtney's good at that. My mom's great at that. Obviously, she wasn't in the baby nurse circuit. She's more if like people need plastic surgery, concierge, hit her up.
By the way, that exists now. I think it's called the Plastic Surgeon Matchmaker. And you can, I guess, go to this consultant who advises you on who is the right person for the various procedures you want done.
Well, see, like that type of outsourcing, you just have to have the right friends. Like I realized I needed the right group. Like Courtney, I literally was the person I called and found me somebody. Really not funny when it was happening.
Sometimes you have to hire somebody because you don't know how to do it. Like when my kids were taking piano lessons, I don't play the piano. So I had to hire somebody to teach them. Mm-hmm. But then there somehow has been this movement to hire people to teach your kids everything, even the things that once...
Like tying a shoe.
Yeah, like even the things that once were so commonplace that parents taught, like teaching your kid to swim.
How about bike riding?
Excuse me?
Yeah. Actually, this is a very good story. My dad did teach me how to ride a bike. I don't know if it was that great, but I was totally looking down upon, and I am queen of outsourcing, but I was like, you're pathetic if you have to have somebody else teach you how to ride a bike. Although I let my husband.
Said to me when I hired that
yes,
person.
I did say that to Courtney, and I take it back because he was phenomenal. And it took my husband like 1 year to teach my son how to ride a bike because he clearly doesn't know how to teach bike riding, right? So Courtney has a lesson with Russell, this guy, for her daughter, and I'm like, I can't believe she's doing this, but I'm going to crash the lesson. All right, bad word choice, not crash, but I'm going to come. So we get there. Guy has my daughter riding a bike in like 20 minutes. Wow. Never seen anything like it. And then I actually booked my own lesson and I took on a pink bike where my knees were kind of like, like not fitting properly.
Wait, why did you need a lesson?
Because I realized even though my dad taught me, I sucked. And
how do you suck at bike riding? It's moving your legs.
I don't know. It's the gears. It's the I was afraid of turning. I learned some very good advice. It's like, I didn't know this, but you have to look at the place before you turn. Instead of, I would just kind of like throw my body to the left. You've got to like look to the left and your body like moves naturally to the left.
Wait, are we talking about...
I'm talking about Russell, the bike expert. He taught me that. I had a great lesson.
But is this bike riding like I'm going cross country?
No, this is like I was biking on a basketball court, going in a loop and a figure eight.
Right, but it's a regular bike.
This was a pink Tinkerbell bike where he took the training wheels off and he made the seat as high as possible so I could go on it. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, see,
I'm not talking about Lance Armstrong.
I may never understand that because I sort of feel...
I'd like to see you on a bike that's not SoulCycle.
But it's like swimming or running. Like I know many people who hire somebody to train them to run a race or a marathon.
Okay, I just think that's stupid. I think swimming is great to have a professional. You want to be the person that has to traumatize your kid by like throwing them under the water and like, and also they do this every day. It's okay. This is a perfect example of why sometimes you have to outsource for someone who is specifically good at that. When we were having our son and we were calling Moyles and we found the Moyle, Canner Sherman, may he rest in peace. And somebody said he died.
He did George and Sandy. He's the Moyle to the Upper East Side.
Yeah, I'm sure. And he's also was on Law and Order.
Yeah, they said he was like Moyle to the stars.
Oh, yeah. He was the best. No, he was actually like an actor, too.
The best Moyle.
No, he was the best. Everybody has a Sherman penis. Well, now he's dead. But
I didn't realize he died.
He died, which is really sad. But I remember Jeremy said to Canner Sherman, because my husband loves to question everybody, why you versus someone in the hospital? He was like, do you really want a resident who hasn't slept for 2 days, who maybe does one penis every 5 months? Or me? I live, sleep, penises. All I do is cut foreskin. And it's literally what he said. And I was like, yeah, he's an expert. That's who you hire. That's all he does. That's his specialty.
It has to be the best.
Granted, a penis is different than biking. But my point is, like, if you are a swim instructor, you're teaching all day. Like, Jeremy's working in real estate finance, and once in his life he's trying to teach bike riding. He doesn't know how to fucking teach bike riding.
Right, but like, would you trade the memory, because you clearly habit of your dad teaching you to ride a bike, and either he stinks at it or you're the most uncoordinated, unathletic person.
I'm actually very coordinated in athletics, so it might
be him. It might be the teacher. But would you trade that moment? Because I guess this is what the fear is for me is
you can have both.
You have experts doing everything, and all of a sudden, like, your relationship with your child, they're not learning real life. They're having some curated experience of all these experts coming in and out of their home doing things for them. And I just think that creates a warped adult.
Yeah, I do struggle with this because I then feel guilty that I'm doing it. So then I'm there with them because of the guilt. And I'm like, I want to be.
Actually, I think you were on a Zoom with your therapist while they were learning. Do you remember that?
That is true that time. That is actually true. But for example, I have a tutor come over and work with my daughter for math. And because I feel a little bit guilty, like, why can't I just work with her with some math, which seems hard? I sit there and I want to understand it too.
Wow, that's really good. I wouldn't even sit in there.
So
I'm impressed.
I think tutoring is its own category, and I feel like we will probably have to have an entire episode around the academic sort of competition.
Yeah, because that's a whole beast.
Right. It's a whole beast. But one, I don't judge you for having someone help with math, because I will say, like, I'm good at math, and I was good at math in school, and yet I have no idea how to do my kids' math.
Yeah, but it's like qualitative.
No, I know.
And then I feel like I'm reinforcing these horrible stereotypes, because whenever one of my kids have asked me, I'm always like, Doug, the kids need help with math, because he somehow doesn't struggle the way I do. He can help them and knows exactly what they're talking about.
I mean, maybe it's just his brain. I don't know. I think I'm going back to the question you made about a memory. And I think it's really it has to be a combination of things, because I do have a really fond memory of my dad teaching me how to ride a bike, even though I suck. But then he tried to teach me driving, and like it was horrific. Like, he was screaming. It was terrible. And like, I immediately had to get a professional to help me. So like, it could go either way.
Right.
I learned how to ride a bike at 5. And then at 36, I had a hot guy named Russell teach me how to ride a bike again. It was great.
I don't know what the answer is, but I often have people say the reason they hire a college advisor is because they don't want to fight with their kid about it.
That's what I'm saying with the driving.
No, I get that. That's why I'm bringing it up.
Sorry. You're so smart. Of course you get it.
But my point being is that isn't that the stuff of life? Isn't that learning to negotiate? And I guess I worry that raising kids.
You don't want to raise pussies?
Well, certainly not. But also, and I'll keep pushing on the tutor example. I don't know if you got the tutor because your daughter struggles in math, or just because you want to make sure that, like, she's doing awesome in math.
To be totally honest, everyone in her grade is doing Russian math.
That's
so
ridiculous.
They're all freaking outsourcing there. I think that's annoying and stupid. No offense. Love you all.
No, it's actually terrible.
Because it's not the same math that they're learning in school. So I went and got a different teacher who works at a different school teaching the same type of math to work with her and to, like, get a jump start and have the confidence, which maybe is a little ridiculous in and of itself, I'll admit, but that was my strategy.
No, but I think you want to also make her feel, I think, like, she was doing really well on other things, and I think math was a little bit harder for her. Yeah. So you're trying to kind of make the level equal. Like, I think with my son, like, last year he suffered from some perfectionism stuff. I tried with him. I was like, just draw it. Who cares? And I literally, he drew something and he was about to erase it. I just ripped it and threw it out. I was just like, I'm done. I couldn't deal with it. So like, I hired a reading type of tutor who helped him write faster.
Does the perfectionism gene come from Jeremy?
I think we both are perfectionists in totally different ways.
Fascinating.
But
just to go back to what you said, so this, again, like, these are for future episodes, but that is so thematic of a big problem I see. All the kids are doing all of this outside work that doesn't align with what's being taught in the classroom. And then you have to go get a tutor to make sure your kid also is up to speed on that outside work. Mm-hmm. And I think the tutoring then never ends, because what ends up happening, and this gets to like another issue with outsourcing, is it's like an emotional crutch. Sometimes it's real where you need help, and other times emotionally you don't feel confident that you can do it yourself. And I have a friend whose husband is a tutor, and I am completely gobsmacked that she says her husband tutors associates at Goldman Sachs, because You tutor in math when you're 9, and then you tutor in 7th grade, and then you tutor in high school. And by the way,
that's kind of crazy. Isn't that what a mentor is for?
In college, and then all of a sudden you're working in a real job, and you still don't have the confidence that you can do it. So you're hiring a tutor to look at your work.
I think it's interesting. It could be confidence, but it also could be that somebody's been doing all the heavy lifting for you your whole life, that you're probably in the wrong job.
Well, that's my point, I guess, in that.
So I don't know if it's confidence. It's that you probably can't do it.
Okay, so that's another issue, but I just don't know where the lines get drawn. And I guess because I'm so black and white and I like to fix something and not think of things as a process, it's hard for me to understand on the outsourcing, like where does it end? Where does it end and what's good and what's bad? And I guess this is why I am in awe of people like both of you who are very confident in your value system.
In our mediocrity.
What?
Our mediocrity. We're like, we're doing it.
Well, I want to find my way to the middle.
It's hard. It's actually really hard when you're a perfectionist. And I don't know. I guess I just learned.
Like gardening, for example.
I'm not fucking gardening.
I talked about like maybe it would be fun to have a garden in Bedford, and Eleanor and I could do it together. And then I go to friends' homes in the Hamptons and I'll comment on their gardens and they'll tell me about the person who came and built their garden
themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I would.
Right, and you guys think that's so normal, and I'm like, oh, but isn't the point of gardening the pastime of it, the enjoyment of it?
Do you enjoy that?
I agree with you on that.
Yeah, but I enjoy. You know what I do? I don't have a garden, but I have like some pots with tomatoes and whatever.
You have a garden wall in your apartment.
I have a live wall. Yes, I do. But I'm saying what we're talking about. You're talking about fancy gardens. You know, I'm talking about like I have a planted pot, tomatoes, etc. Did I plant them? No. Did I water them? No. Is it fun for my kids and I to see them grow and then we can pick them off and that's the experience? Yeah, great. I don't know how to do that. I can't do that.
Okay, so again.
But I like the idea of a garden. I would love, actually, that's a good thing. If I had an unlimited budget, I would love a giant garden where my full-time chef could go and pick from my gigantic garden and I could eat from it.
Maybe I've had it all wrong, but isn't part of the enjoyment of picking and eating the tomatoes the fruits of your labor, the fact that you did all the hard work to get there?
No, I'm not like in the 1890s, like fucking on the land. It's not my job. I'm not a farmer. No, I enjoyed it. I loved that I found the guy who does it. And I talked to him on the phone in the spring. Actually, I have to give him a call. And we talk about what we're going to do. And then we get the bill. And then Jeremy calls me and goes, "You're absurd. This is ridiculous." And I'm like, "You have no idea what garden I really wanted." I compromised and I got pots. Okay.
Oh my God, you're like my daughter. She'll be like, I actually saved money. It was, $100 on sale from $180. So I actually saved you $80.
She thinks she made $80. But I don't know. I grew up with like my parents are really both good at having other people do things, but they're still really emotionally, well, I don't know about that, but they're involved and they're here. It's the same thing. And it's like, I think it's a New York City thing. I don't know. We were at my parents' pool in Bridgehampton and there was something in the pool. And my husband, who's from Boston, very non-Jewishy Jew, says to my dad, like, "Do you have a skimmer?" My dad looked at him like, "A what? What's a skimmer? I don't have a skimmer. The pool guy has a skimmer." He didn't have a skimmer.
Okay, Doug is always skimming. Doug is always skimming.
My dad's never skimmed a pool in my life. Now my pool is filled with leaves.
You need a skimmer.
And bugs and shit, because like we're so cheap that we have the pool guy come, every gazillion days. And my husband's not actually getting all the stuff. It's gross. We had like a dead frog once. It's like a swamp. So we have a skimmer. I skim. It's really hard.
It is hard.
It's really heavy.
It's heavy.
It's hard if you're short because like you can't.
Work out for your arms.
Yeah, my dad's like, fucking no way. The pool guy's got it. Even my grandfather, when he was not wealthy at all. Apparently, there was an Italian neighbor he always called to like change the light bulbs and do everything.
So let me ask you: if you had unlimited funds, what would be like your dream outsourcing situation?
Okay, besides the garden, the full-time chef, probably full-time chauffeur. Okay, this is going to throw you. Full-time doctor at my beck and call and full-time vet, but I would not have to deal with them. They would make sure that like all my appointments were organized, my kids were, and they would travel with me, but I wouldn't see them. I would just know like if I'm in Capri with my kids and someone has an emergency, I got my doctor. I would love to have a full-time doctor.
That's a really good one.
Well, you agree with that. You love that.
I have a sniffle.
Yeah.
Can I have my Z-Pack now?
You don't have to WebMD anything.
Yeah. Love
have you been to the hospital in Capri? It's scary.
Is there a hidden MRI machine?
He's got everything. He's traveling with a little hospital in a suitcase.
But he's traveling like on a different plane.
I don't know where he is. I have someone else who does all that planning for him. Like I'm that rich. Like he's got his own assistant that I hire, but he's with me.
I love it. That's actually, I get it. That's a critical
Seems very
resource to have
practical,
at your fingertips.
You know, seems like a very
I like that.
smart. What about you guys?
Really
Well, Gelman, what would be your ideal?
Oh, I would have a
outsource?
Tracy Anderson trainer also travel with me or come with me
That-
everywhere.
I love that.
Yeah.
Trainer for sure. Tracy trainer. Chef.
She wants a doctor, doesn't she? You do.
I do want the doctor. That doctor on the list.
Yeah.
Chef, driver. Chef and driver.
I
And
feel like,
private plane assistant people.
yes, I want a pilot and a plane.
Plane
that's not
and
a-
steward. And, they could also do some babysitting on the side.
Not a stewardess.
Yeah, I want a hot.
Think about that. A Patrick Schwarzenegger, because I'm so obsessed with White Lotus. Steward.
Oh, he's so boring.
Oh, I love him. But yeah, like babysitting stewardess on the side.
No, you don't need that if you have a plane. You can have a separate babysitter.
Okay, this might be revealing about my life, but the thing neither of you mentioned.
You don't want anybody, do you?
No. By the way, living in New York City, I would love a full-time chef. I would love to wake up and have somebody making me a cappuccino and an egg white omelet. I would love a personal trainer 24/7 available to me when I want it. I would love a chauffeur. That is such a luxury. But nobody said, I want a personal assistant who does all my,
Oh, yes, I do. I want that.
school forms, health forms, gift buying, signing my kids up for classes.
Shit, I want a personal assistant.
Yeah.
Yes, I want a personal assistant.
Yay.
I want someone to read my phone. I have so many texts and emails. I'm so overloaded by it. I want them to read it.
Doing when all these people
We're
are doing all these
podcasting,
things,
baby.
We're podcasting and then we're working out.
That's my point. It
No,
becomes
because
this
we're
vapid
podcasting.
existence. So the last thing I'll say is I do sometimes go through periods where I don't have a housekeeper. And when I do,
I'm not coming over.
and even when I do, they come twice a week. So I'm still in a position where things get messy in between. And
I made my bed this morning, by the way. Okay.
by the way, so
I do that.
either Doug or I make our bed every morning. And there's lots of studies that say it is so important to your mindset to make your bed in your morning.
I think just somebody has to make a bed. I don't think you have to do it.
Okay.
You have to have a
fine.
made bed.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Okay.
And then also when I'm doing the dishes, it's meditative. It's like,
No, not for me.
I agree with you. I like unloading the dishwasher. I
What?
think there's something very calming about that. And that's when I listen to my podcast at night.
that's what I mean.
wow.
Like the quotidian chores
Look
are,
at you.
no, but they're actually, I think when we talk
I
about
don't like
anxiety
putting my
in our
kids' toys
society,
away. I don't like putting all their shit away. I feel disrespected when they leave everything all over the place. I don't like that.
but don't they need to
Yes,
learn how to put their
yes.
stuff away? And don't you have to model that for them to learn?
Yeah, I
Because
put my
kids-
stuff away. I mean, I organize. Actually, I do make the bed, and my son will be like, "You know how to do that?" And I'll be like, "Yeah." I'm not a moron, It's
Right.
not like hospital corners, but it's good. But I know how to make my bed. I agree. You have to show that you can do mundane stuff. But I think I do enough for my kids. You know how many times I wipe their butt? I can have someone else make my bed. You know what I mean? I'm literally hands-on.
Right. Like I don't know if you guys have ever had this, but the kid in your home who says, I'm ready when they go to the bathroom in your house and they need you to come in and wipe their butt.
Every day.
But how are they going to run the world if they don't know how to wipe their ass?
I'm thinking I'm not going to come with them to college wiping their ass. My 5-year-old has a passy. I know she's not going to walk down the aisle or go to college with it. And it's going to be very expensive braces.
All right. So let's end on something we agree on. I always would say to people when I'd be with friends who were worried, my kid isn't potty trained or my kid doesn't know how to do X, Y, or Z. I'd always be like, have you ever met an adult who doesn't know how to do those things?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
figure it out.
They're going to walk.
Anyway,
They're not
before
gonna
you
wet the
die,
bed when
you
they're
all
married.
go back in diapers anyway. What's the point? You should just stay in diapers.
You do end up in diapers, by the way.
That's what I just
in old
said.
age.
That's what I just said.
Oh, that's even. I thought you were making a.
No, I just said it's a full circle.
Oh,
And,
it is.
we're just going to end up back in diapers, not be able to walk. So might as well just, I don't know.
And saying what's ever on our mind without.
I dying to know, not dying. I'm happy, living my pace of life, but what I'm going to be like as an old woman, because I'm already fearless of what I say. What am I going to be really polite and filtered? I probably have no friends left because I'll just piss everybody off. So I'll just talk to myself. Yeah.
We'll be there.
We'll be on the strip
We
pole
got
because we're not
you.
playing mahjong. No, or our friends will be like, "I told you to start mahjong when you were 37. I told you."
You'll be 120-year-old pole dancing, drinking
Yes.
tequila, and
We'll have a
yelling
different podcast at that
Oh
point.
yeah,
and yelling expletives to everyone.
cannot wait. I'm going to be the hottest 120-year-old because there's going to be no one left. I'm going to use my boobs to just hang on the pole. That was a good ending. Good ending.
There's so much more to say about all this. So we'll be looking to you guys to share with us, write us on social, send us a text.
I'm also looking to hire a new...
some more fun episodes about this stuff.
I do need a new nanny starting in August. So if anybody knows anybody, a job posting. P.S. Hit that up. I would love some recommendations.
Not the person who recommended the baby nurse.
No, not that person. But anybody, or if you have any agencies, love it. Yeah.
All right. And with that, that's a wrap.
Adieu. Goodbye? Yeah. Avita Zane.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci.
Shalom.
Shalom.
What
Ciao.
else? How do you say it in Spanish?
Adios.
Adios, amigos.
Are you serious?
See you later, alligator.
In a while, crocodile.
Thanks for listening to Mic'd and Medicated. We hope you loved listening to us.
But even if you didn't, we have zero shame. So still subscribe to our podcast, leave a comment, and a 5-star review.
And follow us on Instagram and slide into our DMs because they are wide open.
This show was created in New York City and hosted and produced by
Eva Heyman
and Caroline Leventhal. And mic drop.